she thought I'd never understand. Until I heard every word she said in French.
Look at me, please, not your phone.
Just a second.
I'm done.
Chapter 1. The Secret I Was Never Meant to Hear. Most people at Westbridge University thought I was just another ordinary student. And honestly, that's exactly what I wanted. My name is Ethan Laurent, and for the past 3 years, I had lived a quiet life in a small apartment near campus, wearing simple clothes, riding the bus like everyone else, and keeping my head down. What no one knew was that my father was Victor Laurent, the richest man in the country, owner of Laurent International, a business empire that stretched across finance, technology, and real estate. But I never liked the attention that came with wealth. Growing up in luxury meant everyone treated me differently, either trying to impress me or trying to use me. So, when I started university, I made a decision. No one would know who I really was. Not my classmates. Not my professors. And most importantly, not my girlfriend. Her name was Clara. We had been together for almost a year. She was beautiful, confident, and charming in a way that made everyone around her gravitate toward her. At least, that's what I believed. That afternoon, I was heading toward the campus cafe to meet her. The autumn wind rustled through the trees, scattering golden leaves across the path. As I approached the cafe terrace, I noticed Clara standing near the corner of the building. She wasn't alone. Her best friend, Sophie, stood beside her. I was about to walk over and surprise them when something made me stop. They were speaking French. Most people on campus didn't understand French. Bide. My mother had grown up in Paris, and French had been the language of our home. So, when Clara laughed softly and said something in French, I couldn't help overhearing. And what I heard made my chest tighten. Il est tellement naïf. He's so naive. Sophie giggled. Tu disais si, Rico, il ne soupçonne rien. You're sure he suspects nothing? Clara crossed her arms, her expression amused. Bien sûr, il pense que je l'aime vraiment. Of course, he thinks I really love him. For a moment, I thought I had misunderstood. But then she said something that made the world feel colder. Quand j'aurai rencontré quelqu'un de plus riche, je le quitterai. When I meet someone richer, I'll leave him. Sophie laughed quietly. Alors pourquoi rester avec lui? Then why stay with him? Clara shrugged casually. Parce qu'il est gentil et facile à contrôler. Because he's nice and easy to control. My heart pounded in my chest. For an entire year, I had believed our relationship was real. But standing there behind the corner of that cafe, listening to every word, I finally understood something. Clara never loved me. To her, I was just a temporary option. A placeholder. Someone to keep around until someone better came along. I slowly stepped back, making sure they didn't see me. The wind carried their laughter through the air as I walked away. But this time, I wasn't angry. I wasn't even sad. Because for the first time, I realized something almost ironic. Clara was waiting for someone richer, someone powerful, someone she thought would change her life. And she had no idea. She had been dating the richest man's son the entire time. And now that I knew the truth, everything between us was about to change. Chapter 2. Playing the Fool. That night, I couldn't sleep. The words Clara had spoken in French replayed in my mind again and again. He's so naive. He thinks I really love him. When I meet someone richer, I'll leave him. A year of memories suddenly felt different. Her sweet smiles, her affectionate messages, her gentle voice when she called me babe. Now, every moment felt rehearsed. But strangely, I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt curious. If Clara believed I was naive, then maybe I should let her keep believing it. The next morning, I met her at the campus cafe like usual. Clara waved excitedly the moment she saw me. "Ethan," she said cheerfully, hugging me. "You're late." I forced a small smile. "Sorry, I overslept." She pouted playfully. "You're lucky I'm patient." If only she knew. We sat down at the same table where I had overheard her conversation the day before. Clara sipped her coffee and studied my face carefully. For a brief moment, I wondered if she suspected something. But then she relaxed and leaned closer. "You know," she said sweetly, "I was thinking we should go on a trip next month." "A trip?" "Yes," she replied, her eyes sparkling. "Somewhere fancy. Maybe the coast." In the past, I would have agreed instantly. I would have tried my best to make her happy. But now, I simply tilted my head. "Isn't that expensive?" Clara hesitated. Just for a second. Then she laughed lightly. "Oh, Ethan, you worry too much. You can save a little, right?" There it was. The same subtle manipulation I had never noticed before. She wasn't asking. She was testing how far she could push me. I nodded slowly. "Maybe." Clara smiled, satisfied. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from my father's assistant. "Your father is visiting the city tomorrow. The board meeting is scheduled at Laurent Tower." Laurent Tower, the tallest building downtown, headquarters of my father's empire. I typed a short reply. "Understood." Clara leaned forward curiously. "Who was that?" "Just work," I said casually. Technically, it wasn't a lie. But what Clara didn't know was that tomorrow, I would be sitting at the same boardroom table as some of the most powerful executives in the country. And she still believed I was just a broke college student. As we finished our coffee, Clara suddenly grabbed my arm. "Hey, Sophie and I are going to a party tomorrow night," she said. "You should come." "What kind of party?" "Just a small one," she said with a smile. "Some rich business people will be there." "Interesting." "Very interesting." Clara didn't know it yet. But tomorrow night she might run into someone very important. Someone she was desperately hoping to meet. Someone he-she. Someone powerful. Someone who could change her life. And when that moment came, she would finally realize something ironic. The man she had been searching for had been sitting across from her all along. Chapter 3. The Party of Masks. The party was exactly the kind of place Clara loved. A luxurious penthouse overlooking the glittering skyline of the city. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and soft jazz music filled the room while elegantly dressed guests mingled with champagne glasses in their hands. For Clara, this wasn't just a party. It was an opportunity. "Wow," she whispered as we stepped inside. "This place is incredible." She quickly adjusted her dress and glanced around the room, her eyes scanning every corner. I knew exactly what she was looking for. Hishime, pas for me. Men who could change her future. Meanwhile, I stood quietly beside her in my simple black suit, looking like any ordinary college student who had somehow been invited. Clara leaned closer and whispered excitedly, "Do you know whose party this is?" I shook my head. "It's hosted by Laurent International," she said. I almost laughed. Of course it was. After all, the building belonged to my father. Across the room, I noticed several executives I recognized from the company board meetings. One of them spotted me briefly and immediately looked away, pretending not to recognize me. They understood the rules. My identity here was a secret. Clara, however, was completely unaware. "Tonight is perfect," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "I heard the heir of Laurent International might be here." I raised an eyebrow. "Really?" "Yes," she said eagerly. "Apparently he's the richest heir in the country." Then she laughed lightly. If I could meet someone like that, my life would change overnight. I sipped my drink quietly. Interesting. Very interesting. Suddenly, Sophie appeared beside us. "Clara," she whispered excitedly. I heard the heir already arrived. Clara's eyes widened. "Where?" Sophie pointed toward the VIP section near the balcony. "They say he came earlier, but nobody knows what he looks like." Clara's heart was practically glowing with excitement. Without hesitation, she grabbed my arm. "Let's go closer," she said. We moved toward the balcony area, where powerful businessmen were talking quietly. Clara straightened her posture, her charming smile perfectly prepared. She was ready to impress the mysterious heir. What she didn't realize was that she had already been dating him for a year. While she searched the room eagerly, I watched her with quiet amusement. "Do you think you'll find him?" I asked casually. Clara nodded confidently. "Of course. Men like that always notice women like me." I almost smiled. Because, in that exact moment, one of my father's senior executives suddenly walked over. He stopped in front of me and bowed slightly. "Sir," he said respectfully. "Clara Frus." Her eyes widened as she slowly turned toward me. For the first time that night, confusion appeared on her face, and she was about to discover something that would completely shatter everything she believed. The mysterious heir she had been chasing all night was standing right beside her. Chapter 4. The Truth She Never Expected. The music in the penthouse continued to play softly. But for Clara, the world had suddenly gone silent. She stared at the man standing in front of Ethan, the senior executive who had just bowed respectfully. "Sir," the man said again, lowering his head slightly, "your father asked me to inform you that the board meeting tomorrow has been confirmed." Ethan nodded calmly. "I'll be there." Clara's heart skipped a beat. Her mind struggled to process what she had just heard. "Board meeting? Your father?" The executive continued speaking respectfully. "Also, Mr. Laurent asked if you'd like the car prepared." Ethan shook his head lightly. "No need. I'll handle it tomorrow." The man nodded again before stepping away. But the damage had already been done. Clara slowly turned toward Ethan, her eyes wide with disbelief. What was that?" she asked, her voice shaky. Ethan looked at her calmly. "What do you mean?" "That man," Clara said, pointing toward the executive. "Why did he call you, sir?" Ethan shrugged slightly. "He works for my father." Clara blinked. "Your father?" For a moment, Ethan remained silent. Then he sighed quietly. "I guess there's no reason to hide it anymore." Clara's heart began pounding faster. Ethan looked at the glowing city skyline outside the window before speaking. My father is Victor Laurent. The name hit Clara like lightning. Victor Laurent, the billionaire CEO, the richest man in the country, the owner of Laurent International. Clara felt her knees almost give out. That's impossible, she whispered. Ethan glanced at her. I never lied to you, he said calmly. You just never asked. Memories rushed through Clara's mind. The simple clothes, the small apartment, the casual way Ethan lived. She had assumed he was ordinary, but now every moment felt different. Her expression quickly shifted. Shock turned into excitement, then into opportunity. Ethan, she said softly, suddenly grabbing his arm. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted a normal life, he replied. Clara's voice became sweeter, warmer. But you don't have to hide from me, she said gently. I love you. Ethan looked at her quietly. For a brief moment, he remembered the French conversation outside the cafe. He thinks I really love him. When I meet someone richer, I'll leave him. Her words now sounded very different. Clara stepped closer. We could have an amazing future together, she said softly. You and me. Ethan studied her expression carefully. The excitement in her eyes, the sudden affection, the way her tone had completely changed. It was almost impressive. Just hours ago, she had been searching this party for the richest heir she could find. Now she had discovered that heir had been her boyfriend the entire time. But Ethan had already heard her truth. And tonight, he would decide something important. Whether Clara truly deserved a place in his future, or whether she had already lost that chance forever. Chapter 5. The words she thought I didn't understand. The lights of the city shimmered beyond the glass walls of the penthouse. Clara still held my arm, her fingers tightening slightly, as if she was afraid I might disappear. Her smile was sweet. How sweet. Ethan, she said softly, why didn't you trust me with something so important? I looked at her quietly. Trust. The word almost made me laugh. You never asked, I replied calmly. Clara stepped closer, her voice gentle and affectionate. Well, now we know everything about each other, she said. And honestly, it changes nothing. I still love you. Love! For a moment, I simply studied her face. Then I asked a simple question. Clara, do you remember what you said yesterday outside the cafe? Her smile froze. What do you mean? You were talking to Sophie, I continued calmly. Clara's eyes flickered slightly. That, she said quickly. We were just chatting. In French. The color slowly drained from her face. Most people on campus didn't understand French, and Clara clearly believed I was one of them. She forced a small laugh. You wouldn't understand it anyway. I tilted my head slightly. Then I answered her. In perfect French. Tu disais que j'étais naïf. You said I was naive. Her expression collapsed instantly. Tu disais que je pensais que tu m'aimais vraiment. You said I thought you really loved me. Clara's hand slowly slipped from my arm. Guests around us continued chatting and laughing, completely unaware of the storm unfolding in the corner of the room. But Clara looked like her world had just shattered. Ethan, she whispered. I continued calmly. Et tu as dit que quand tu rencontrerais quelqu'un de plus riche, tu me quitterais. And you said when you met someone richer. You would leave me. Tears suddenly filled her eyes. That's not what I meant, she said quickly. You misunderstood. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I sighed softly. You were searching for the richest man in this room tonight, I said. But you already had him. Clara's lips trembled. I was stupid, she said desperately. Please, we can fix this. For the first time that night, I smiled. But there was no warmth in it. Maybe, I said calmly. Clara's eyes lit up with hope. But then I finished the sentence. Just not together. Her face went pale. I stepped away from her and walked toward the balcony. Behind me, the music continued. The city lights glittered, and the party carried on like nothing had happened. But Clara stood frozen in the middle of the room. Because the man she had been waiting to meet, the rich heir who could change her life, had just walked away from her forever. And this Chimi, there was no second chance.